Hi, Ren. How you doing? All right. So I was reading through your writing. Thank you so much for being so deliberate in describing things. I think it's really, really important. I don't if you remember way back in the first week of class, and this is not our first class together, so you may remember this, but usually in the first week of class, I usually mention that as an instructor, I will never recommend um, or provide a critique without giving the not only the what, but I also give the why. I always do that. I will never make a recommendation without explaining why. And I think that for you to kind of follow suit in that, you're describing why, you're describing your design decisions. And I think that's fantastic. And it's relevant because as a designer, you're going to be asked to describe your design decisions for the rest of your career. So really getting yourself into a point where you're expeditiously um, able to describe those decisions. I think it's a win-win, and just continue to cultivate your ability to describe your methodology, your objectives, and your conceptual approach to all of your assignments. Because, like I said, you're going to be asked to do that for your entire career until you reach a point where you become an art director or a creative director. Then you're going to be on the other side. You're going to be expecting designers to explain to you and describe to you what the relevance is of all of their design decisions. So that said, I do want to address some things in the um, the poster. Now, really good start. I think not only this to me is very impressive because it tells me that you're really thinking about every decision that you're making. And if you've looked at some of the other videos in this thread, one of my main points of emphasis for this assignment is for students to really take a self-inventory of their own work and to look at their own work and say, okay, every mark on a page, and as a student from this point on, try to remember this. Every mark on the page has to be there for a reason. If there's no reason for it being there, consider removing it, okay? And the reasoning should tie in with the concept and or the visual demeanor of the actual piece. It's really important. There should be nothing on a page ever that doesn't have a reason for being there, and that reason should be easily describable. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so my question is, what is the significance of this configuration right here? Now, you say in your writing, the name's layout is meant to be referential to the electron orbits of an atom, but I don't see that, Ren. I'm a little confused because wouldn't this represent the orbits of an atom? I'm not sure what the cross is here, and is it significant? Right now, I think it's a little problematic in that it's really difficult to read. He's not a household name by any stretch, so it's really difficult to read. It's a little ambiguous in that you've slipped a lowercase e in here. So it's I think it's an ambiguous configuration. I really do. And you know me, Ren, I'm not trying to be discouraging. You know I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can in my critique. So I find this to be a little problematic. It not being a household name. We get Ernest. We kind of go. The viewer kind of goes, okay, you're going to look at this first, right? You're going to kind of go, Ernest. Okay, got it, Ernest. Then you're going to go Ruth. R4. You see, I'm overemphasizing this just so you can understand my point. Another issue here is that, and I just went through this with my critique for Kendall right before yours. So take a look at that. But basically, what you're doing here is this is configured, and it being that it's not a household name, that's not a name that everyone's familiar with, right? So we have to kind of look at it. Watch my head. This is what happens. This is on this axis. This is on this axis. You're kind of forcing your viewer to go like this. Okay, Ernest Rutherford. You see how I'm tilting my head back and forth? That's not a comfortable situation for the viewer. Now, I'm overemphasizing it, but at the very least, the eyes have to readjust and reconfigure to get this configuration to a point where it's understandable. Am I making sense? It's a consideration. I think that it definitely warrants further exploration. So, I love this. I love the little tittle here as the Y, but right now it's almost not visible. I would recommend that somehow you make that a little more visible. I think one of the issues is the fact that there's very little contrast between your subhead, the Atomic Man, and the background. So this is basically a monochromatic situation. So it's very much lacking contrast. So we can barely see those little electrons floating around the tittle and the lowercase I. Not sure how we're going to do that. Maybe increase the size of the whole thing. Now, recommendations here is I'm not sure how this is going to manifest itself into a continuation onto the back as your writing indicates, since the model will show up in multiple places in my chart. If I'm understanding correctly, are you saying that this is going to show up or this is going to show up in multiple places? So I'm just a little concerned about this configuration here. I love this. I think this is just great. I mean, even if you were to just say, okay, watch my cursor. So even if you were just to assemble this as Ernest Rutherford and then the Atomic Man, that's chock full of meaning because Atomic Man is, and then plus the little model right there. It's just giving us so much, and we make this immediate connection between Ernest Rutherford's and atoms. We don't know yet what that connection is, but that's good because you're probing the curiosity of the viewer. So right now the viewer is going to say, Ernest Rutherford, the Atomic Man. Okay, what? Oh, now I'm curious. Then you get to the back of the poster, and that's all explained, and that the viewer goes through this aha moment where the front makes sense and everything falls into place. Okay, so please let me know your reaction here. And again, my only concern is this configuration and the fact that the colors are a little bit monochromatic here, impeding that contrast, which is kind of hiding those orbiting electrons around the atoms. Okay, and I think I got my terminology correct. Forgive me if I didn't. I'm certainly not a chemistry guy, but I think you get the point, right? All right, so. Fantastic start. If you have any questions at all, Rin, please let me know because I'll be glad to clarify. But keep moving, and remember, everything on this page has to have a reason. And moving forward in your career, remember, everything on your page should be there for a reason. If it doesn't have a reason for being there, consider removing it. Okay? Great job. Questions, comments, concerns? You know I'm right here. Thanks, friend.